Great Scott! I declare bankruptcy!
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Depression? Isn't that just a fancy word for feeling bummed out?
Quite you ignorant slut! Not only the years we've been at war, but from the moment, as a child, when we realized that the world could be conquered.
You're listening to Great Scott, the Office Podcast. My name is Jay Ray, and with me is my desk mate, Jacob.
Hey, guys. Sorry we're coming to you a bit late, but, you know, people get sick. It is the winter, after all.
Yeah, suck it. Well, pick up your toys and suck it. Okay, so we'll do some housekeeping at the top of the lovely show for all of our listeners. Visit patreon.com/brokenjars if you'd like / They get it. What did I say? Did I say backward slash? I
just said slash. Yeah.
50-50. They got it. /brokenjars. And you can check out our various Patreon tiers. Give us a couple buckarooskies so we can keep doing what we do. Your support helps not only our show.
At brokenjars@xyz, emails at brokenjarsbroadcasting@gmail.com. Check out our other shows like the Dresden File podcast, Dangerous to Go Alone, High Fantasy, which I'm on if you want to, talk about writing and shit. So yeah, here we are. We are starting season 7. Can you believe it, J-Ray? We have come so far.
It's funny because we changed the format. It feels like it took us freaking forever to get here.
Yeah. But it has been. It'll be 2 years in June that we've been doing this.
Yeah. Nope. It's exciting. I'll tell you too. I thought I was going to be bummed. But I realized what it is I enjoy the first half of the seasons because the first half is always like the fun, like, hey, we're back. And it's the second half that loads on whatever the story is. And generally, the later seasons for me have been less popular. But as I was going through these episodes, positive vibes, man. So no grumpy J-Ray tonight.
So season 7, episode 1, The Assistant, I believe is what it's called. I forgot to pull up the episodes, which is my bad. But we have the cold open with the lip sync thing, which I guess was season 7, episode 1, Nepotism, directed by Jeffrey Blitz, written by Daniel Chun. I don't know, was this like a YouTube thing that I missed somehow when it was big or what?
Yeah, it was a YouTube thing. It is doesn't say specifically. Also not really something I was that's fine. But yeah,
the song itself is Nobody But Me by the Human Beings. Peinz. Beings. And it's a catchy tune, there's all sorts of stuff. Kelly and Ryan start fighting about Wolf.
Yeah.
Creed doing the guitar and someone calls him and he immediately goes to his Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Angela's not having it about she doesn't want to be on the internet, even though she's in this documentary she's had a camera on her for 7 years at this point.
Yeah. It's not bad. I guess it's a fun way to bring us into the season, but I feel like I've expressed my thoughts in regards to Niagara. I don't like when they just take jokes from the internet. And I know that's Michael's shtick, right? He's always trying to call YouTube down to come and record whatever's going on.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of these jokes I missed because I really didn't start watching a lot of YouTube until the last 2 or 3 years. Now I watch a ton of it, but that's beside the point. But yeah, there's a lot of this stuff that's just missed on me.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is that so I forgot who had recorded it, but we find out Toby's the one who's recording it.
Right. Toby's recording it.
Of course, not the well-paid, skillful camera crew that has been following them around for 6+ years.
Right.
Let's get Toby to do it.
Oh, or maybe he was like, Toby was following the camera guy around, sort of like you're directing as the camera guys were. Because we don't know exactly that he was the one with the camera. They just asked him how it was. He said, that's better.
Right. So if he was just kind of running around trying to keep track or whatever.
Right. Which makes me think that, like,
I mean, it's shot the same way that the regular show is shot.
how many times did they attempt this? Like, was this an all-day affair or Michael's like, we're going to do it till we get it right kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, some surprising participation to me is Jim, because he like kind of gets into it. Pam starts off the whole thing. She's really into it. I mean, really, the whole office, aside from Angela's on board, because I feel like even Oscar would be like, this is stupid at some point.
Right. Oscar's in on it.
I mean, Stanley's kind of lackluster.
You know, he's like talking to the camera like you're behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not one of those cold openings that has staying power, though. Like, I find myself wanting to skip it whenever I watch it for not the podcast because it's really only cool like twice.
Right.
You know, unlike some of the other like cool, you know, Jim pranks that are good regardless.
Right. But yeah, then Dwight finishes it off, and I don't really know, like, because what I would want to assume about Dwight's role in this video, man, is that he must have been scripted to do something. Everybody else had like a bit.
Right.
I mean, Ryan also kind of goes rogue a bit with his wolf stuff, but Dwight just comes out from, you know, the kitchen area wielding a large Crocodile Dundee style knife.
Right. Bites the head off some stuff bear. Yeah, he's all over the place and it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, he destroys Phyllis's desk, which is another thing that makes me believe like this must be one of the earlier attempts because like
right.
Yeah.
And you also got this like you almost feel like this was done and they're like we're going to figure out what episode to put it in front of. Right. There is no like I don't know if they were wearing the same clothes or not, but I mean, when the episode starts, Michael's coming in for the day. He's talking about how summer must end, and it's sad, and he got West Nile virus, and lost a lot of weight, then went back to the lake and stepped on glass. I got infected, even though he peed on it. And then he had his Inception joke, you know, because Inception was huge for like 35 seconds.
Right.
Like that was like the biggest movie of all time, and then it disappeared completely. And now you can pick it up for like $5 in the Blu-ray bin at Walmart.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where, you know, it was so big, they probably just had a ton of because I used to work at Blockbuster, and we had that certain movies during my time there had like guaranteed rentals, you know? Mm-hmm. So I recall The Dark Knight came out, and we had a whole 4-foot, 6-foot tall section dedicated to that movie only. And then like, you know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, once it starts to, we have to reduce the size of that space. You know, we did do those movies. We would either put them on sale. Sounds great. $5, not bad. You know, it's like a 4 for $20 thing.
Right.
But we had a machine that destroyed the DVDs. So I would sit there, and if it was like garbage, I'd be like, fine, whatever. But you put it through this weird shredder, and it just scratches the disc, and then you throw it in the garbage. I was like, what a waste. And, you know, I mean, Blockbuster's out of business, and I can't say that's all my responsibility, but I took a fair share of those movies because they were all fine quality films. And they just overloaded them. So I feel like that's probably what happened with Inception is another one of those like, oh, we have to carry this.
Right. It seems like, because I know a lot of like the high-end fashions, like Burberry and those guys, if whatever they don't sell, they burn. Like whatever that year's line is, if they overproduce, they just destroy it. Because they can't have it getting out on the open market and pulling down prices. Not that that really matters anymore, especially for movies, when you just like click 2 buttons and you're you know, watching it on Vudu or whatever your preferred streaming movie rental site is.
Yeah. Anyway, so that happens. That's the beginning. We're back. Mike is sick. And we find out that Gabe and Aaron are dating.
Right. And Erin is super happy that she had to say yes to her boss.
Yeah.
So I don't know where she got that idea. And if that was Gabe, I mean, that's like hardcore abuse of power, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this is also the same string of episodes where we find out that Aaron thinks disposable cameras don't actually contain film in them. So
Right. I think it's this episode.
I think it might be this one. Yeah, whichever one, wherever they leave. But either way, they take a photo. She throws it out.
This episode, yeah.
So she's obviously not the smartest cookie.
No, and we understand that. Like she's so naive, and like I don't know, like she kind of plays that character well.
Right.
I don't know if it's her look or what, but she like essentially plays the same ish character, except more so on Kimmy Schmidt, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
The only time I've really seen her in something else was in like 21 or 22 Jump Street, where she was like a sex crazed high school teacher.
Yeah, she did play that role. She was in I don't know if you remember Derek Comedy, but they had that was Donald Glover and all that stuff. They did Bro Rape on YouTube, but they came out with a movie called Mystery Team, and Ellie Kemper plays this. I don't know what they're supposed to be because they're like high school kids, but they act like they're, the Hardy Boys or whatever. So they feel like they're in elementary school. So Ellie Kemper plays a similarly unclear aged girl who rides a tricycle around town, who's like, "You're boys, you're gross."
There was it was from Texas State. This girl got a DUI. And so she started, like, she bought a Power Wheel and was riding it around campus. It was big. Like, it blew up on the internet for a while.
She knows how to roll.
I had a family member, like, at the university at the time, like, taking pictures.
Yeah.
So Andy's obviously pissed about Aaron dating Gabe. But we find out that, like, Gabe asked him, and he said it was okay. Because when we leave season 6 is, it seems like they're going to hit it off because they were, they're throwing Andy's bag up in there and Aaron's like, I think you did the right thing and all this other bullshit. And I don't know what happened after that. Like, why is Andy such a wuss here? Like, if you were going to date her, that was the time to date her,
Right.
What happened there? It just... She's dating Gabe now, and Gabe apparently asked for permission, which is, a cool thing to do on his part. But
yeah, it's weird. I mean, like I said, I feel like at some point Andy's character takes a turn, and it's not totally clear as to why it happens. But it does. And I mean, well, it's not clear in terms of like natural character progression. It's clear in terms of like why they wanted the story to go away to make it interesting. So like the whole shtick of Andy still pining for Aaron and like the Glee watch party and all that jazz, like that makes interesting stuff. But yeah, they definitely, Andy's already prone to issues. And I always have a problem where they kind of repeat storylines. So Andy being this weird, insecure dude again, like he was with Angela, I'm like, well, we've been here before, I was kind of looking forward to like now the Andy relationship thing.
Right. And I don't know. It kind of makes sense in some respects because, the Angela thing really messed him up. And we saw this when he was like talking to Jim and everything else. Right. But when he becomes manager and starts dating, what's her name in season 8?
Yeah.
I cannot remember her name off the top of my head. He's much more confident,
Yeah, that's true.
And then he loses. I mean, I don't know. You say it doesn't make sense, but the more I look at Andy and his progression, the more it makes sense to me. The more it actually is like, okay, I can see why this happened. You may not like it, but he actually has very human motivations behind his stuff.
You always say this stuff, and I'm like, Jacob's talking from some weird well of personal experience that we'll only ever find out when we finally release the Jacob Ingles podcast.
I mean, if someone out there wants to do it, I'll be more than happy to sit on the couch and talk to you about all the stupid things you've done.
But yeah, so anyways, that happens, right? He gives a very colorful description of a whale eating Gabe.
Right. And then we learn through like, oh, what happened over the summer is Dwight bought the building.
Yep.
So he's beet farmer, B&B, whatever, top salesman, building owner, and then you burn the list.
Right.
Well, for whatever reason, you know. And then we find out Kelly went to the minority executive training program. So she's like super smart now.
Yep.
She's like, you could ask me what the top whatever companies are, and I'd be like, blah, 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 saying the exact right thing.
That's right.
And this is like when Kelly, like, she doesn't change, but she starts becoming more and more self-aware about who she really is.
Yeah.
I guess in this episode, she's like, what'd I say? I talk so much, I just start to tune myself out.
Right.
You know? We learned that Daryl blew out his knees, so apparently he didn't get his full year of softball out of them that he thought.
Right.
That's why he didn't do the
training.
The training, which comes back later in season 8 during the Lotto episode.
And then we meet a new assistant,
Luke Cooper.
So, so he's kind of loosely featured in this episode, and he's part of one of the primary storylines. But Jacob, who mostly does the notes here, had one fact to include about Luke. He's a film buff. Yep.
Yeah.
And he loves Citizen Kane and Boondock Saints.
I mean, who doesn't love Boondock Saints?
I mean, it's such a college guy answer, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Granted, I've never seen Citizen Kane, which I know I should, but whatever.
I mean, not to be that guy, but I watched it in my film class. But
well, I mean, it's widely considered the greatest film of all time.
Yeah. I mean, I've read articles about how we should no longer list it as the best film of all time because we all know it. So, like, let another movie be the best film of all time, and we all just accept that Citizen Kane can't be touched. Because, like, what's the point of, like, printing a top 100 list and wasting the space where we all know what that answer is going to be, you know?
So it's so good it should no longer be listed. It's, like, the best, so you essentially retire the number.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's always going to be the 101 best movies, and no one ever lists number 1 anymore. We always just start from 2.
Right. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a documentary about the making of the Boondock Saints, which is really good because it's all from like home videos taken around it. There's no narration or anything.
Oh, just cut together behind the scenes.
Footage. You see like the downfall of this this thing, and it's really good. It doesn't take away from the movie for me, but you understand why this director, who is obviously very talented, didn't get anything done because he pissed off Harry Weinstein, which, he didn't have tits, so he couldn't make up for it, I guess.
There you go. He said it, not me. Yeah, I mean, I remember I used to work at my college radio station, and we had apprentices. And one of my apprentices showed up, and he was wearing a Boondock Saints hoodie. It had the brother on either side of the zipper.
Uh-huh.
So he goes to unzip the hoodie, and the dude is wearing the exact same T-shirt underneath. I was like, come on. Like, you're either doing that as a joke or you just don't get how stupid this is. And I think it was the second one.
Everyone really hates Luke because he's awful. Do we know how long he's been there?
No, I mean, based on how these first episodes go, it tends to be like a recap. So he's probably like a summer intern. So he was probably wrapping up his time there anyways.
Well, he's not an intern. Well, I don't think he was an intern.
Okay.
And he was actually hired to be there.
You're right, because they do call him an assistant.
Right. And he doesn't make any, he doesn't say he's going to school.
Right.
So everyone hates him. We get this other side thing where Jim is pranking Dwight by adding keys to his gigantic key ring that he now has because he owns the building.
Right.
Which we learned that the bigger the keychain, the more powerful the man, which that means I am not a very powerful man because I got like 4 keys on my keychain.
I was going to see. I use one of those smart key things, where all my ish folds into itself.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, similarly, also a weak guy over here.
Like I got 2 car keys, and a house key, and like another key, and that's it. But I don't like carrying keys around.
Yeah.
But Pam laughs when Jim's doing this and completely blows the prank.
Yep.
And so she feels bad, and this sort of starts the B storyline about everything, where Pam is trying to prank Dwight because apparently he hasn't been got in a while.
Yeah.
And he's starting to get a little mad about it.
Yeah, he's kind of getting a little too big for his britches. He's walking around with this hydration backpack to stay hydrated, hands-free.
I'm surprised Meredith hadn't thought about that with vodka tonics. It's like,
yeah, it's true. But I'm sure after seeing Dwight, she was a little inspired. But yeah, so Jim's just trying to put Dwight in his place, knock him down a couple notches, but that goes out the window. But Pam's like, I got to make it up to Jim.
Mm-hmm. And so we something I noticed, and I don't know if it stays this way. I don't think it does, but in this episode, Jim's using a trackball mouse.
Uh-huh.
Like, what kind of monster is this person who uses a trackball?
Yeah, I don't know. It's terrible. I know we should be well into laser mice at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, some people still love the trackball, but man, you definitely go down a notch or two in my book if you use a trackball.
Yeah. National Ice Cream Afternoon.
Right. So he sends him out to get something, and he gets 2 small pints of soy ice cream and bagel chips.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't go very well. And so Michael has this conference room meeting, and he's like, don't bother Luke. He's got all these don'ts around a circle through bother Luke, and it just gets really stupid.
Right.
And we we learn that Luke is related to Michael.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah, it's a weird relation too, right? It's sister-in-law's kid or something.
I think it's stepsister's kid. So
yeah.
He's a step.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Because of Jeff or whatever his name is.
Right. And so it's weird because in every business I've been in, you have to disclose that kind of thing when you hire somebody. And
to who? HR, I guess. That's it.
HR, your superior, who I guess would be Joe. Because there really are no VPs, are there? Not that we know of anyway. It's just the C-levels and the managers. There's no buffer. There is no Jan position here.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just started watching season 4 again. I was going to say Ryan, but that is incorrect.
Right. Well, that position, whatever that VP position was, there just doesn't seem to be that in here.
Yeah.
So Michael starts getting really defensive, which is pretty funny. He's like, who did God call on when he needed help on earth? That's right. His son, Jesus.
Yeah.
He's like, and Michael says something to the effect of, it's just unfair that God can do something I can't.
Yep. Which is a very reasonable person to compare yourself to.
Yeah. And then, what if they had held open auditions for the band Hanson?
Yeah. And then he comes up with these ridiculous scenarios of who would have been hired in that situation.
Like a murderer.
Well, because he's under the impression that the name was first. And
right,
it's not
right.
based on the brothers.
Mm-hmm. They actually make pretty good beer now. They have their own brewery in Oklahoma.
Well, you got to do something. You can't be 35 to 40 and playing bop still.
Actually, they have a pretty solid rock band. They're touring again, and it's, good, decent, well, I would say good. It's okay alternative rock.
Add it to the podcast, everybody.
Hey, they're like one of the national treasures of Oklahoma. We don't have much. Hanson, oh God, she was huge for a while. Country singer.
Shania Twain.
No, like
Faith Hill.
No, it's not Miranda Lambert, but really blonde girl. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. Carrie
Britney
Underwood.
Spears. Oh, Carrie Underwood. Oh, she's still big. She still does stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah. She was huge for a while. So, what I do love is like Creed is saying stuff about how he doesn't care about nepotism, but he loves the debate, and he's like great minds battling it out. It's just this silly thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we also get Kelly trying to be funny or smart with her. Oh, I just want to add about the level playing field. That is a zoning issue.
Well, she's smart now.
She is smart. What does she call herself later? I think it's later this. Yeah, it is later this season. Like the business bitch.
Yeah, that's right.
She's got like the business bitch and the something else, the shopping bitch or something like that.
Yeah, 'cause she's like trying to brand herself on social media or something as such, right?
Was that what it was? Like I don't
so.
remember exactly what it is.
Well, so also, like you said, the shtick was they sent Luke out for this ice cream so they could talk about him. So he comes back. Everybody's extremely disappointed. Not only did he bring back soy ice cream,
right?
But he brought back bagel chips, but he didn't have dip or something.
Well, he also like he bought like 2 pints of that and a bag of bagel chips. Like not nearly enough for the entire office.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, "Oh, I didn't have a list." It's like, come on,
right? He's like such a douche. And we also learned that the reason that like Michael's family didn't like him was that he lost Luke in a forest once.
Right.
I don't know how, but he did. So that's the last straw for it.
So let's see. So now we shift gears here to Pam kind of trying to figure out a way to fix her prank debacle, right?
Right.
And it's not a bad plan that she comes up with, which is to get Dwight kind of trying to be confused as to why his elevator is not working.
Right. But she gets Kevin. Why did she go with Kevin to do this? He's like, oh, let me just look at the circus board.
Yeah. Because he's well, that's a good point, right? I was gonna say I think he's a good accomplice overall because he's pretty like scapegoaty. But in terms of the task at hand, terrible.
I mean, to be fair, he does what he's supposed to do. He does screw up the elevator. It just kind of freaks out.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know. It might be a built-in safety thing because I know elevators, if they start messing up a little bit, they just kind of shut, they lock themselves down.
Right.
So people don't plummet to their death and all that stuff.
Yeah. Let me tell you a story about getting stuck in an elevator, Jacob.
Oh, you've been stuck in an elevator.
Yeah, once or twice. And so what had happened was we were at a birthday party in the city. It was a billiards hall or something. And, it's a weird place to have a billiards hall. So the thing was like on the 5th floor of some office building. On our way out, the fellow at the door, because it was also a bar, so he was checking IDs, he says, don't jump in the elevator. And the fact that he says this, I mean, like, you said it. Now, of course, someone's going to do it, right? It's like the whole red button complex. Like, no one jumps in an elevator normally, I think, but for some reason he said it. So someone in our group decided to jump in the elevator. And once you know it, the elevator just stops. We're stuck like 2 floors down in between floors. So we hear the music from the pool hall above us and stuff. We've got the birthday guy in our elevator, and people are trying to text us, being like, hey, where are you at? You might have to take the stairs. Some idiots got stuck in the elevator. And we're the idiots stuck in the elevator. And, of course, once you know it, there's a young lady in our elevator who is claustrophobic. guess who jumped? Her girlfriend. So now, and it was wonderful. I thought it was hilarious. That being said, I was fortunate enough that no one was peeing in the corner of the elevator.
Right. Because you have to establish a pee corner. I mean,
That's right.
it is what it is. What I love, and we see Dwight do this a couple of times where he's like, he asks, "Did you SMS text message me?"
Yeah.
And he refers to this, I think, in season 8 or 9 when Angela finds out that the senator was having the affair with Oscar. So, yeah, I mean, so it's just something that Dwight does. So just being very literal.
Right. Yeah. Right. And of course, trying to make up for it, Pam was going to record the whole thing on her phone and I guess show it to Jim after the fact. She didn't realize she'd be so directly involved, I guess.
Right. And she gets some of it. So, hopefully Jim got a little something out of it.
Yeah. So now we go back to the office, and the son of a gun Luke has now acquired a laser pointer.
And they're doing it while they're like, yeah. And so they're doing it while Michael's trying to give a PowerPoint presentation. So good on Michael for finally learning PowerPoint.
Right. PowerPoint.
Right. And
yeah.
He comes in and Luke won't stop. And for whatever reason, Michael just loses it and starts to spank Luke.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Mike around kids during Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, and he's not great, right? He says in that episode, they're adults for God's sakes, in the same line where he's expressing that kids are easy. So in this situation, I think he's probably got some really archaic know-how about how kids should be treated. And again, Luke must be 18, 19 plus, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd assume so.
So he grabs Luke, takes him, and lays him over Andy's desk and just starts smacking his butt.
Mm-hmm.
It's uncomfortable. It's what the office is known for.
Yeah, it is very uncomfortable, but it's pretty funny. And there's part of it where I'm like, yeah, Luke really kind of deserves that. But
yeah. What's this? Finally, a kid not talking about Betty White.
Yeah, so reason why Creed follows him on Twitter.
Yeah, that's right.
Which we all know that we would follow Creed on Twitter if he were he is a real person. But if Creed from The Office was a real person, we would all be following him on Twitter.
Probably a lot of links to his Creed Thoughts blog.
So at the very end, sort of tying the episode up, Gabe says the lawyer said we can have it with a calling it a stress-induced outburst with 6 hours of counseling with a certified whatever.
That's right.
Person. And we learned that Toby is a certified counselor.
Yep.
And Michael's like, is this the only option? It's like, well, it's either this or termination. And he thinks about it for a long minute.
Yeah, I mean, so that's really the perfect setup for our next episode.
Right.
So, sir, what would you give this one?
I like this episode. It's good. Coming back into it, pretty funny. Really sets up the season because there's a lot of stuff. Well, actually, the next 2 seasons, really, because there's this whole Andy pining for Aaron that keeps going. Dwight owning the building is a recurring thing for the rest of the season, or not season, series. There's just a lot of good. And we see Kelly being a bit more, not professional, but more professional. Like, she's at least dressing more professional.
Right. She's got the power suits on and stuff.
Right. So, so I'm going to give this 3.5 out of 5 SMS text messages.
It's a great call, and I'm going to agree with that number, sir. I give it 3.5 out of 5 extra keys.
Nice.
But yeah, no, you're right. It's a very solid beginning. which is why, again, I will be depressed later on as we finish this season because it's always worse at the end.
And it doesn't feel like it's a setup, but it is a setup. Like they set up a lot, but it doesn't feel forced.
That's right. That's right. Like in such a way that as this stuff comes up again later, you're like, oh yeah, that's right.
Right.
As opposed to like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
Right. Because it's flicking the pebble down the hill instead of throwing a snowball at somebody.
Yeah.
Our next episode, season 7, episode 2, Counseling, also directed by Jeffrey Blitz and written by B.J. Novak.
B.J. Novak, as you know, plays Ryan.
Correct.
In case you didn't know that, Jacob. I know you've never watched the show before, so
right.
That's some trivia for you guys out there who want a little bit of inside information about The Office.
Right. It's not really a cold open, but it's kind of a cold open. So Cece is making Jim and Pam late for work.
Yep.
So Dwight's like, I'm going to open up a daycare. And the only way that Dwight could, and he has this like really like quote unquote evil laugh. He's like, it's this great line where he's like, well, it's not an evil idea, but there's no good laugh for a normal idea.
Right.
Such a good Dwight line. I loved it. So he takes them down to what was the Michael Scott Paper Company, the Sesame Avenue for Children.
Yep.
Which is, of course, exactly where you want to do it. And he's got all this just terrible stuff where he's got this like insane clown posse poster on the wall where he just writes or scribbles over everything that isn't clown.
Yeah.
The magical toy box.
Right.
With just plastic forks and knives with this random soy pack. And Dwight's very embarrassed about the soy pack.
Yeah. Really the best part of it, the most versatile and really stand out thing in this daycare that's going to make it like the best daycare in Scranton are the buckets.
Right. The feeding trough, the bathroom, and
it's like there's a potting plant bucket or something too for like
something like that. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, it was something stupid like that.
Yeah, and of course they're all plain old rusty silver buckets that look exactly the same. So
right, he obviously got it off his farm.
Yeah,
obviously.
I'm just looking forward to the time where some kid's taking a deuce while another kid's trying to eat out of the trough, hoping for no fecal splash.
And he's like, "Well, who's going to watch him?" And he's like, "Oh, we don't have to worry about that because it locks from the outside." And so they lock Dwight and Mose in the office with no lights on.
Yep.
So you kind of wonder where when they let him out, right?
Yeah. That's about it. I mean, it's kind of a cold open. We don't really go back here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's cool how they sort of keep recycling this location.
Well, because it was Michael Scott Paper Company.
Mm-hmm.
It was Cafe Disco.
Right.
And it was this daycare. Later on, they turned it into a gym.
Right. That happens in season 8. So, so we get into it with Michael working with Toby, and he hates it, and he just wants to bust it out, get it done, whatever. So they're just sitting in the break room, and Toby's really excited. He's like, maybe I can do something because, you can kind of tell that Toby wants to at least have a working relationship that isn't so animosity filled with Michael.
Right.
And in this one, we actually do see a small retcon where Toby went to Temple University, which is a very good school. Depending on what you're going for, but in general, it's a pretty highly ranked school. But I remember we there was another episode where you went to some fictitious university that we actually talked about it at length a couple seasons ago.
Well, because we know in season 1 he went to the same high school as Katie, this fictional Bishop O'Hara High School, which is, I guess, a school that competed with Roy's high school, and I guess by that sense, Roy and Pam's high school, because they played each other in football.
Right.
But yeah, so now Tobes is a Temple man. I mean, also too, I wonder because he went to school, but was that also his divinity school?
Right, but he dropped out of divinity school.
He did. Well, but I wonder if he was there for Temple, or did he graduate from Temple and then go to a divinity school and then drop out of divinity school?
That's a good question.
Well, I guess he must have graduated with some degree to be HR and to be a certified counselor.
Right.
So
Well, and Temple makes sense. It's in Philly.
yeah,
I didn't realize Temple was in Philly.
he's one of those colleges with like multiple campuses across the state.
I'm sure it does. For some reason, I didn't think it was there. And I also didn't. Wow. I mean, as private universities go, it's kind of cheap.
There you go.
Only $26,000 a year for out of state.
How much?
$26,000 out of state
That is cheap, actually.
for a private school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, kids. If you're
Research university. Interesting.
if you
Used
can get in, go to Temple.
Yeah. Typical.
How are their parties?
Probably not great. I mean, notable alumni: Bob Saget, Daryl Hall, and Bill Cosby.
Daryl Hall. Is he SNL? Who's Daryl Hall? I don't know who Daryl Hall is.
Rock and R&B soul singer, keyboard, guitar, songwriter, producer.
Hall & Oates.
Yeah, Hall & Oates.
That's it. Sorry. My bad.
That's also where John Oates was from. So, shocker.
Who the hell's Oates? Just kidding. Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, this counseling session is pretty amazing. Michael is just so adamant about giving Toby nothing.
Right. And he is such a dick to Toby.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, a little bit at the beginning, but when we get there's a turn in this episode where, like, something happens. But, yeah, Michael really turns on his dickishness to Toby. Almost to a point where, like, all the other times he's a jerk to Toby, like, in this series, it's still funny. But the moments in this episode where he's a jerk to Toby are just, like, I feel like there are so many lines that are crossed.
yeah, no, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like, normally it's mean, but it's in a funny way. This is just mean.
Yeah, just mean. Did your mom ever see you naked?
Right. There's this great line from Phyllis where she's like, Michael really needs therapy. He's got a lot of issues and he's stupid.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love it. And there's actually is an interesting episode because there's 3 full storylines that really do not cross over. They kind of play into each other because the reason, especially, so 3 storylines are Michael and Toby doing counseling.
Yep.
Dwight in the mall.
Yep.
And Pam becoming the office manager. But
Right.
without the A and B storyline happening, the C storyline can't happen because all the people above Pam are busy pretty much.
Right, are preoccupied, yeah.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, I think she still has to get their signatures because she does get Michael's signature. We see that in like a quick cutaway while she's talking.
Right, but you know if Dwight had been there when he came in asking about the window treatments or whatever it was,
Sure. Yeah.
that he would have said something being the owner of the building.
The building. That's right. Yeah.
So all the people who would say something, because even Jim probably would have made some stupid, funny remark.
Right.
So everyone who would have said something is gone, and that
Yeah.
allows her to spin her web of deceit.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. Well, first, like Pam is struggling at sales, like hardcore struggling, and she's like, "Tell me I'm good at sales," or tell me, like, looks at Jim like, "Tell me I'm pretty," or like, "Then tell me I'm
Right.
good at sales," and he's like, he can't do it or won't do it or something.
Yeah. Well, he like paused because the first one is like, "Tell me it's going to be okay," like whatever it is, the constant ethereal it, and he's like, "Yeah, of course, we're going to get through it." And then she's like, tell me I'm good at sales. And like his quickness with his first answer causes the pause in this answer to be extremely noticeable.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really funny, but like the look she gives him, like her hair is, it's like like there are a few times where like Pam just like melts my heart with her prettiness, and this is one of them.
For listeners at home, just to give you some behind the scenes stuff here, the note Jacob has here is #swoon. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm watching. I was watching season 3, season 4 recently, and during the interview, it's come out at this point that Jim and Pam and Karen, it's like this kind of weird trifecta thing. So Kevin corners Jim and's like, trying to figure out who would you rather, basically, right?
Right.
So my girlfriend posed the question to me, and it's a tough call, but they're both very pretty ladies. I had a great reason as to why I picked Jenna Fisher, though. Oh, because she would get Rashida Jones. That's why. So there we go. she made my choice for me.
Now, the thing though is like, well, for most of us who are fans of both Parks and Rec and The Office, I think the real debate is: do you take
Karen or Ann?
Do you take Ann or Pam?
Ann or Pam? Huh? Probably Ann. Because Pam is such a small town girl. In a lot of ways, like there's a lot, especially even from this point moving forward, there's just a lot of instances of her like being like a Pennsylvania girl,
right?
In a way that's like not unattractive, but then when compared to like Ann Perkins, and she's like really the voice of reason in a way that sometimes The Office starts to lose voices of reason.
Right, and I don't know, it's tough. You asked me this question a year ago, it's instant Pam. But Anne seems really fun, like more fun-loving, that kind of stuff versus Pam. So who's to say?
Yeah.
Who's to say? These fictional debates that we have.
I mean, you saw Pam lip sync her heart out in the beginning of last episode. So
yep.
Who doesn't love fun like Pam?
And so we learned that Dwight wants everyone to cancel their business with the Steamtown Mall. And he was calling like all their customers, Andy's, Phyllis's, whatever, cancel, like ranting at them, dropping the F-bomb on them. Very unprofessional,
Right.
Very un-Dwight.
Yeah.
And we learned that he wanted this thing, and a precious heirloom,
Yeah. Yep.
which is definitely not a precious heirloom, but whatever. But they wouldn't let him in because they're appearances.
Yeah. Sons of bitches.
And so I think it was Kelly's idea to. Oh yeah, this is one of the moments where she said, "Oh, you should totally Pretty Woman them." And Jim's like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And she's like, "What did I say? I thought she just said it and like wasn't paying attention."
Right. Well, so we get this fun talking head moment where first Dwight is trying to recount what he knows about Pretty Woman based on what has been told to him.
Right. A sex worker is supposed to be the protagonist. Wait, that can't be right.
Yeah. Then Andy can't wait, so he jumps in to do it. And again, this is in the talking head space of the large conference room or whatever. And then while he's doing it, what's her face? Kelly runs in and finishes the whole thing, and Andy's kind of dejected by the whole thing. He's like, I was telling it.
Right. And so Andy interrupts Dwight.
Yeah.
And then when Andy gets interrupted, he gets upset.
Yeah, well, because it's like the line, right? It's like the line that they're hoping that Dwight gets to say when he does it to these people.
Right. Have you ever seen the movie Pretty Woman?
Once or twice, but many moons ago.
Yeah, I have never seen it. A friend of mine from college, she really wanted me to watch it with her, and it never happened. And I don't see it unless it's one of those things where, like, I'm, for whatever reason, have cable TV again. Like, I'm flipping through the channels and it's on. I might watch it, but I don't ever see actually watching that movie.
Yeah, I mean, we in our household we like to use Friday night as a night to get a little under the influence and watch some movies that maybe we wouldn't normally watch. So that's how we tend to get in a lot of these oddities. Although to be fair, last time we watched American Tail,
Oh, that's a good one.
I never watched it before. I only
Really?
ever watched Five Goes West, which I was the only one. I didn't.
Another great one.
In that series, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, American Tail. It's a classic. It's like hardcore classic.
I got emotional.
Oh yeah, Bible man. He's a baller.
Yeah, he is. So, yeah, you have here Dwight has this fancy headset as he's doing all these calls. Too.
Right. Well, what's sad is I actually recognize the headset, and it's
That
like a
is sad.
$400 headset.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what's crazy though? It's like headsets for like VoIP phones or whatever. Like a lot of office phones, like they tend to be expensive because they're not traditional plugs.
Right.
So you need
Well-
adapters and all that kind of stuff because I have to buy the headsets for my office too. And it's like,
Well,
it's not, why isn't it a regular stereo plug, Jacob? Why
well,
is it
in some of the, especially like the nicer wireless ones, like what he has,
yeah.
you can set them up to switch seamlessly between like a Skype or Link call, and if you want to, you can click a button and it'll seamlessly roll into your cell phone, and you can just do it Bluetooth on your cell phone without the people on the other end knowing,
Yeah,
being the wiser. So, and they've got like 12 hours of battery life, and they're supposed to be amazing, but they are expensive, but they're cool.
Well,
But I don't spend much time on the phone, thankfully.
thank goodness. Just podcasts.
No, this is the most I talk. Like, I probably talk more during this podcast than I do like
all
the 8 hours I'm at work
That's funny.
for the entire week.
You gotta do it. So let's see. Trying to pick up where we left off. here.
This is
Yeah, so
where like
basically-
the guy comes in asking about the window treatments, and Pam's like, he's asked for the office administrator or
Yes.
something like that. And Pam cons her way into the job.
Yeah, I mean everybody's quiet, so she says, "I am," and no one says anything, and she's like, "We don't need it," in such like an obviously theatrical way.
You're right.
And she gets this plan going, so she decides to go to Gabe to express that she was promoted just prior to the Sabre acquisition, and the paperwork must have gotten lost. And she's not trying to say it's Gabe's fault, but what can be done to fix this issue?
Right. He's like, hey, just give me the signatures of everyone. We'll make it all cool. And so she goes around getting the signatures, which apparently is pretty easy.
Yep, there's some toy cat love for Angela. There's some type of raunchy air humping story for Meredith.
Right.
Uh,
Michael doesn't care because he's pissed off at Toby.
that's
and, and so, like, Toby really wants Michael to talk.
Yeah.
And so Michael's like, sure, I'll talk. And he just starts like, I was probed by an alien life form, an Alf. Maybe it was Alf.
He's like, they say it doesn't have a bottom half, but it does.
Right. Yeah, so it's just bad. Like we were talking about earlier, but it's just bad for me. Like I
Yeah.
have a hard time with this one. I really do. I don't know why
Yeah.
exactly, but I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to jump ahead a little bit in the storyline, I mean, Toby does some clever reverse psychology stuff here where he's like, well, let's just watch a movie and let's color or whatever, and we'll just ride the 6 hours out. And of course, that's exactly what Michael needs to let his guard down to like
Or I
open up.
start playing games and yeah, and he opens up for a little while and then pulls back, and then Toby gives him the sheet, and Michael just marks like the worst things possible on the sheet.
Yeah. Well, because what's tough is when Mike is revealing stuff, like some of it is like, it's stuff that probably a therapist should hear. there's some
definitely, yeah, definitely, because he's got some real, and we know this. He's had issues with his mom remarrying and Jeff.
Right. He has really weird visions of how managers are perceived in the world.
Mm-hmm. My mother's boyfriend, who she married, like she won't.
Right. He never says my stepdad or anything like that.
Do we actually know what happened to his dad? Did he just like up and leave? Did he die? Do we know? Like I don't.
Yeah, they don't really say it.
Yeah,
but it seems like based on this marriage, like he probably had an affinity for his father.
Right. And we learned that the reason why he wanted to be a manager was because of a baseball game and all this other stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just,
but so Toby asked a question. Mike's like, "Well, it's not a therapy session, or it's not a counseling session," and then he like realizes that he's just being
counseled. That he's actually being counseled.
So then, like you said, this is where he flips on Toby, and it's super terrible. It's like the worst of the worst. So Toby gives him the forms, and Mike probably assumes he's ticking off whatever, like the good job,
right?
But he does like suicidal, violent tendencies or whatever.
Could be homicidal.
Yeah, that's right. While this is happening, the Pretty Woman moment is about to happen. So Dwight is all done up. He's got some ascot scarf going on.
Right.
Got a pipe.
Which I love the pipe. I think it's a great touch.
There's a great bit where like someone's like, lose the glasses. So instead of just taking them off, he throws them on the floor and steps on them. And then Ryan and Phyllis are like, oh, I like the glasses. It's like, because I can't see anything.
Yeah.
And then as they're leaving, Erin takes her photo with the disposable camera that she throws in the way and says how she wishes you could see the pictures.
Right. And so Gabe calls Pam in. Yep. I was like, look, I have gone over everything for the last 3 years. Can't find anything. And Pam bows up to him, is like, tell me I'm lying. Make a decision. Tell me I have the job or I don't. And she gave herself a decent salary, $40,000 a year, which is probably more than she was making as a salesperson.
Especially if her sales were garbage.
You're right.
Yep.
She just like bowls him over because Gabe's a wuss.
Yes.
And he's like, the thing you need to learn about watching, or the thing you learn when you're watching World Poker Tour at 2 a.m. is you play the person. And she played Gabe perfectly because she just was like, hey, make a decision. And Gabe's a puss, so he just rolled over for her.
Yeah, I mean, he leaves his opening, right? He's like, because he says, like, if you can admit, and he, like, leaves this, like, open state. So, yeah, he definitely makes it clear that he's not going to say this thing.
Right, and he's, like, at the end of the meeting, he's like, can I get one of those plays with my name on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny when I showed up first day of my job that I have now. My nameplate had the wrong name on it.
Oh yeah,
he misspelled my last name badly.
When I call people in my office, it says J Ray Ray Rovera. So that's always fun.
Nice. So we get in the mall, right? We're in the mall. And Dwight starts getting into the salespeople. It's like, I was here yesterday, and you wouldn't sell to me. He's like, oh, I remember you. And we, the mall guy's like, hey, if you had just been in accordance with our dress policy. And we learned that he had just come out from beet harvesting and looked like he had strangled somebody, actually someone's to death.
Well, because also too, like, so he's covered in red.
Right.
He's also wearing like denim overalls with no shirt underneath either. So he straight up looks like From the Hills Have Eyes.
Right.
Yeah. Some kind of weird nuclear murder baby.
And I love that Dwight, he like buys the wizard anyway.
Well, so what's interesting is that it's a store where you have to be buzzed in anyways. I mean, I don't know how. I don't go to many malls in Pennsylvania. But in New Jersey, specifically where I live, I am within 10 miles of like 7 malls. It's probably a slight overstatement, but 3 off the top of my head, possibly 4. And none of those malls have like you need to buzz for access.
I've never seen a mall with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe if it's a store that is like understaffed, so they need some security or whatever. But even this wizard, I mean, it's made of pewter, right? So the whole thing could like bend and stuff, especially in certain temperatures.
Right.
And he's holding a crystal, but like, is it a real crystal? To dictate, like, is this really an expensive item or not? But I mean, to Dwight, it is.
As big as it is, it's probably a couple $100 at least. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty detailed, and it's pretty tall. It's at least a foot tall. At least that's what it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, so have you ever seen Hot Toys, Jacob?
Hot Toys?
Yeah, it's not a creepy thing.
or do they make those really big figurines?
They're like supposed to be like super realistic. They're like from Sideshow Collectibles.
Yeah, they have a big thing at Comic-Con every year.
Yeah, so let's see. Okay, so here we go. There's a Rey and BB-8 from Force Awakens. It's a 6th scale figure. You have to join a wait list, but it's $289.
Right.
Is the Pewter Wizard the same price as this Rey collectible?
Probably.
Okay. Does it look as nice as this Rey collectible? Probably not.
Probably not.
I feel like I was unimpressed with the close-ups. But just to give our listeners at home a reference here. Emperor Palpatine looks pretty dope. Boba Fett deluxe figure. All right. I'm not shopping. Anyway, so he's doing his spiel. They reveal the thing, and Dwight's supposed to walk out, having given them the business.
Okay, so I actually found something.
Okay.
Where they auctioned the prop off for charity, and it is 8x6.
8x6.
So
I guess like because it's got some wingspan, right? With holding out the crystal or whatever.
Right. And this one was signed by Rainn Wilson. Man, I would have paid way too much money for that.
Does it say how much it went for though?
No, I'm not seeing it.
All right. Well, there's a Boba Fett here on this. Boba Fett's my dude. Pre-order $267, maybe. Sleep with it at night. All right. Anyways, so he buys the Crystal Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Totally negates the purpose of doing the whole Pretty Woman thing.
Right. And so flashback to Toby and Michael. Toby's like, hey, you did this thing. And Michael gets upset and then blames Gabe and somehow gets Toby to laugh, which smooths things over. It's like, all right, let's do this. And so they start playing more games.
Right.
And it seems to go pretty well.
Yep.
So maybe this is what got Michael over the hump to be ready for Holly.
Right. Well, so, we'll do our ratings of it, but we didn't say it at the top of the show, but this is the last season of Michael Scott.
Right. It is.
So we're starting to see some storylines either close up or get some traction because they're going to need to end because these relationships won't be explored anymore after this.
Right. And then we have this flash where Ryan is just saying all sorts of crazy things about
he's like, Earth, you have to live here or whatever.
Right. Counseling is a narcissism machine. Psychiatrists are more crazy than their patients,
therapists are whores or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, just use the best one. And that's how we close the episode.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
I like this one. It's funny. I think it's pretty funny episode.
Yeah.
It's really quick because ours the 3 storylines, so you're bouncing back and forth, good pacing. So I give this a 3.7 out of 5 sex worker protagonists.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like we are on the same page. And just to be positive, to counteract my negativity that will inevitably happen later, I give it a 3.8 out of 5 nameplates.
Nice.
Yeah. Super solid, super funny. Everybody's up their game, they're doing their characters to the best of their abilities. I'm glad they're getting away from the Pam salesperson thing because that was all kind of boring. Again, it's just it's not fun to watch the characters struggle, and not in a way that feels organic. So this is better.
Right. Agreed. All right. So thanks for coming out. Again, you can find us at Broken Jars at XYZ, Broken Jars Broadcasting at gmail.com, patreon.com/Broken Jars. You can find me at Jacob Ingles on Twitter. And we will see y'all in like a week and a half because this one's coming to you late.
There it is.
Bye, guys.
Bye.